We're looking ahead then to round 10 of the Heritage Park Centre Formula V Championship. Yesterday in round 9, Graham Gant extended his lead in the championship. It's now up to 16 points over Ben Maludi. Craig Pollard, who took third place yesterday behind Gant and Daniel Hans, he moved up into third position. Ian Jordan, who had, I think, gear selection problems in qualifying, then engine problems in the race that have necessitated an engine change. He had a relatively low finish yesterday in 13th position, and he's dropped down to fourth place in the championship. Daniel Hans, fifth, and Tim Probert, sixth. As we get towards the closing stages of the season for the Heritage Park Centre Formula V Championship. The car's not yet released out onto the grid, but we had a very good race yesterday for the Formula V's. Lots of slipstreaming action, Marcus, and it was really a case of who didn't really want to be leading going into the final lap of the race.
That's right, Ian. We had 5 running together in that group, and Craig Pollard, the reigning champion, Graham Gant, Ben Maludi, and Danny Hans all managed to lead the race, and we had Gant and Hans leading for 3 laps each at different points, but right at the very end, Graham Gant made a really fine final lap, used that superb engine he has to his advantage, and the error of the car, error of the worm's eye view, really well, and it was Gant, Hans, Pollard, Hughes and Maludi who crossed the line a second apart at the end of it. It was a superb clean single-seater race, and we think back, Formula V kicked off back in 1967 in this country, but it was started in the States, not in Germany, as many people would tend to think, with the air-cooled VW Beetle engine. It started with the US VW importer, Hubert Brundage, later of Brumos motorsport fame, and spread to Europe and then to the UK. And it's been with the 750 Motor Club since what? Sometime in the very early 80s, something like that?
Yeah, I think it was 1980 when 750 Motor Club took over the running of what I think at that point was a dying formula, really.
What was really funny, there were a bunch of leaky old things. They were known as farting bullfrogs, which doesn't sound very great, but of course now they're purpose-built cars again. Some superb designs over the years have come through, and of course in the early years of Formula V here, some brilliant drivers emerged. Ian Flux, a winner in 75 when he was a mechanic for Graham Hill's Formula 1 team. And of course Brian Henton, who famously won the championship, I've got to be in Formula 1 now, and of course he got there, which was a brilliant effort. These days none of these lads can get out there and say, you know, I can aspire to being in Formula 1, because it isn't going to happen. But back in those days racing was very, very different, but the quality of racing in Formula V is as great as it's ever been.
Absolutely right. Really good action yesterday. The Silverstone International Circuit lends itself particularly well to the brand of slipstreaming racing that we saw. And although we've not had any drivers head into Formula 1 from V recently, of course we do have drivers that have made it into British Touring Car Championship in the shape of Ashley Sutton, who moved from V, and probably, I didn't expect him to become a British Touring Car Champion at one point, but he did. Let's have a look at the grid now, because the cars are being released out onto the circuit. So it's Danny Hans that lines up on pole position for this one. The grid based on the second fastest times in qualifying yesterday, and Graham Gant, yesterday's winner, is alongside him. Craig Pollard, number 1, and Ben Maludi, number 11, will be on the second row of the grid. John Hughes and Colin Gregory, who was a non-finisher yesterday, and I don't see his car in the queue out onto the grid, so it looks like he's going to be a non-starter. Number 72, a non-starter. Then row 4, Paul Taylor, number 77, he finished 7th yesterday, and Maurice Gloucester starts 8th, he finished 8th yesterday. Row 5, that's going to be Rick Lanier and Tim Probert, alongside one another, Alex Jones and Craig Bell, 11th and 12th on the grid in 33 and 99 respectively. Row 7 will be Jack Wilkinson, number 87 and 50. Steve-O, probably a little bit further back than he would have liked to have been in the AHS Dominator. And Ian Jordan, after that engine change, if that's gone successfully, number 4 lines up 15th. Andrew Cooper, number 41 in the AHS Van Gack 16th. Charles Boniface is 17th on the grid. He has aspirations towards Le Mans. He's in car number 14. Christian Goller, 56, lines up 18th. Mark Egan in the Ray, he's in car 75. He lines up on the inside of row 10 next to Ed Lowndes. Peter Belzy inevitably will come up through the field. Yesterday he came through to finish 6th from a lowly grid position. He starts 21st in the Spider, number 51, alongside number 88, Francis Twyman. The 12th row will be Bill Stenning and Sam Engineer. On to the 13th row of the grid, that will be Bill Garner in the Shane. Elliot Mason in another Shane is alongside him. Then it's the GAC of Ian Ray and the Dominator of Neil Aldridge on the 14th row. Ivan Turner's Leastone has Vaughan Jones's Spider for company on row 15. Phil Waterhouse and Mike Oldknow make up the 16th row of the grid. And then just a little bit further back, we've got Peter Can, Richard Waddingham, Andrew Smith, who was in retirement yesterday, I'm afraid. Matt Topham and Sam Wallbank should round out the grid.
How many Andrew Smiths do we have in racing now? Probably 7 or 8, I would think.
Absolutely. It may be the most common name in racing. It's bad. What it's really bad is when you get 2 drivers with the same name on the same grid, isn't it?
Or even 3 in some cases we've had, yeah.
Oh, well, no, even more confusion reigns there then. So we have the cars heading round onto the grid now. It'll take a moment or two to get the cars lined up. But pole position is Danny Hans in the GAC, the 3-bridge campers entered machine, and he is a GAC with an Alan Harding prepared engine, which is new for this season. Danny in the blue car on the right-hand side of shot started racing in 2005. He was the Formula V champion in 2008, moved on to another category and did some Formula Ford racing around about 2010, and then took some time out before returning full-time in the championship last season. And last year he finished 2nd in the championship behind Craig Pollard. Was hoping to go for the championship this year, but finds himself down in 5th in the points at the moment.
It's got revised aero, hasn't it, the Danny Hans car, with a raised nose, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's
just to cool his feet, maybe, like gap in the nose.
Maybe so. Next to him, we've got the WEV, the Worm's Eye View, number 3. Yesterday's winner, Graham Gant, bright yellow car, so that stands out nice and easily for us. And he's leading the championship. He's been a regular winner over the past few seasons, but hasn't necessarily done all the rounds in the championship. So that's meant that he's not really launched a sustained championship campaign. But this year looked like it could be the year with a 16-point lead over Ben Maludi at this point in time. Second row on the inside, you have the number 1 car, which is the reigning champion, Craig Pollard, in the Bears Motorsport Run GAC. Craig, an accountant from Suffolk, and he has been racing in Formula V for about 5 or 6 seasons now in a couple of different cars. Next to him on the grid is number 11 then, that is Ben Maludi. He was the champion 2 years ago in that Storm, and he didn't do all of the rounds last year, just did a couple of meetings last season, but has returned for a full tilt at the championship this year, and it's still very much on because he is 2nd in the standings with 5 rounds to go, including this one. The remaining races are at Donington Park and Alton Park to round out the year in the Formula V Championship. Then 5th on the grid, on the inside, you've got the car of number 27, that's John Hughes, as the race gets underway. And it's a good start then by Graham Gant this time from the car of Danny Hans in 2nd place. Pollard being squeezed right towards the inside there, and that means that Maludi's going to go round the outside of him. Bit of smoke from someone up ahead, and that's Maludi, who's gone wide by the looks of it. Where's he going to rejoin? He's off onto the runoff over on the left hand side.
14 spun.
Spinner is 14, so back down the order, that's Charles Boniface in the AHS Challenge, and that car looks to be broken. Marshall's rushing out to try and recover it. Also
99 spun.
Craig Bell in the 99 has spun as well in that AHS Dominator. Looks like Charles Boniface has got his car going again, so the Marshall's going to run back through the gravel and back to their post with no disruption to the race. So it's Graham Gant with a good lead as they head down towards Stowe for the first time. Hans in 2nd. John Hughes is there in 3rd place. Fourth is Craig Pollard. The one we need to watch out for then is Ben Melody. I think, is that him there in 5th place? I think it may be. We'll pick that up in a moment after that moment. Oh, and 33 is Alexander Jones in the Bears Motorsport GAC. He's had a spin as well, so a hectic first lap for one or two drivers, but the leaders coming out of Club Corner now for the first time, and it is Gant that is leading from Hans in 2nd place, Hughes 3rd, Pollard 4th, and yes, it is the number 11 Storm of Ben Melody in 5th position as they stream into Abbey for the 2nd time, and certainly marks them a little bit more spread out than they were for yesterday's race.
Yes, I think it'll settle down just a touch now, but you've got 4 different marks of chassis in the first 5, which is absolutely superb. The only repetition being that of the GACs, and they were made by a couple of guys, weren't they? Was it Graham Card was the main man with the GAC, but
Alan Woodward.
Alan Woodward was involved as well. Yeah. That's right. And here they come, and down the straight, and Danny Hand sitting in that slipstream. He's going to show his hand early in the race, but he comes down the outside. And the next 3, Pollard has worked his way to the head of the next group, but goes around the outside into Stowe, and Graham Gant will be absolutely comfortable with that. They like racing, they race wheel to wheel, they're very comfortable in tight tussles, and Danny Hands it is, an immaculately liveried GAC. Melody comes up inside John Hughes to snatch 4th at Vale as well, so Melody and the Storm going well.
I was going to say it was in the interests of Gant and Hans to work together to try and pull away, really. But as I said that, I saw that Pollard was already quite close onto the tail as well, so that ambition might not be realised. So end of lap 2, so you've got 2 for the lead, then a gap of about 0.8 of a second to Pollard in 3rd place, so that will be caught up in the blink of an eye. Maurice Gloucester, number 94, it is in 6th. Peter Belsey from 21st already up into 7th position. We've got one car that has stopped there, and just trying to see.
64, is it?
I think it's the 34 car, is it? Lewis Benson Smith, that one, but no, he didn't start the race, I beg your pardon. Not 34.
Sam Warbank, I think.
Yeah, okay, so here come the leaders down to the right-hander at Stowe once again. They are jockeying for position. They've left John Hughes. The first of all left John Hughes, and now it's Craig Pollard that's down the inside. It's Hans that sweeps around the outside, though, to retain the lead at the moment.
Melody got round Gant momentarily, but Gant, I think, maybe his nose ahead. Melody outbreaks him, though, into Vale, so Gant suddenly finds himself 4th. It's a wholesale change, but again, it's early days.
Looks like Alex Jones has been into the pits because he's just come back out again after his spin on first lap. There's Peter Belsey, number 51. Well, what a first 2 or 3 laps he's had.
You can see the first 4 are now together because they're all following each other in a sort of snake across the track just to try and maximise that toe. It's Hans from Pollard now, Melody and Gant and Hughes, who's just dropped a tad off the back of that group.
As Pollard goes to the lead at Village, he goes down the inside but runs wide on the exit of the corner, clattering over the curbs there, but retains the lead from Hans for the moment. And yes, John Hughes still there.
Oh, the Filari Tassi has gone round, Tasso has gone round of Phil Waterhouse. That's at Abbey.
Yeah, the 66 car spinning in front of our comment box, side by side for the lead, down the hanger straight. Hands on the right-hand side of your picture. On the left-hand side of your picture is the number 1 car of Craig Pollard. Having had a big moment there is the number 76, that's Ed Lowndes, I think, down in 20th position. We'll be a bit further down than that now. And also following him there is the number 15 car. And that is, just trying to see, was it the 16 car of Ian Ray, I beg your pardon. But yeah, certainly a couple of cars off down there as we pick up the leads once again. Spots of rain, which might explain why we've got a couple of cars going off all of a sudden. There's the 83 car going through. That's Vaughan Jones in the Spider. At the back of the shot there you can see Christian Goller going through as well.
Melody's got through to 2nd, Hans is 3rd, Gant is 4th, and Hughes now more than a second behind Gant. It's an occasional racer these days, John Hughes.
Ivan Turner there is in the number 40 Lee Stone, just tucked in behind one of the others. There's a big grid we've got of the V's. There's 56 Christian Goller running in 17th place. yesterday achieved his aim of beating his buddy Jack Wilkinson, but Wilkinson much further up the road today. He's in 10th and Gawler down in 17th at the moment, doing battle with Francis Twyman's number 18.
And here comes Gant, round the outside of Hans and Pollard, but Meludi has still got his nose ahead down at Stowe.
Here we go then down towards us at the left-hander.
And look, all five are back together. Just a motor lock-up. There's a touch between Hans and Pollard, but they keep going.
Yeah, that was Hans's left front over the right rear of Pollard. He was momentarily airborne. It's dropped him back to 5th behind John Hughes, who comes back into the equation. So it is the 5 cars for the lead that we had yesterday, and it looks like there's no damage to either of those cars because of that. And indeed, it's Pollard that has come out not quite on top because he's behind Meludi, who had that big off-through farm on the first lap. Hans trying to go around the outside of Hughes at the hairpin there. Now, these two probably were racing together on track back in 2008 when Hans won the championship, and both making a return, really. Hughes, it's his first race back for a while. He's off now all over the grass at the exit of the link onto Hanger Straight there in the Spider. And Peter Belzy you can see in the background as well, just looking to see what lap times he's doing. His lap times are as good as any of those around him, although that last lap was...
I think there was another touch there, and they've run wide, the leaders, as a result of that. Let's let Gant come through on the inside at the exit of Stowe. He leads in the yellow car. The Wev has its nose ahead.
The lap times are about 3 seconds off their best, but not for Peter Belzy. He is gaining on this lead group, so might we have, before the end of this race, a 6-car lead fight with Peter Belzy from 21st joining in. There goes Craig Pollard, slingshotting past number 11, Ben Meludi. Then it's Hans in 4th. Hughes again running wide in 5th place. Getting his money's worth and using as much of Silverstone as possible by the looks of it. Let's have a look at the gap between Hughes and Belzy this time. It's actually about the same as it was, just under 4 seconds that time. With Belzy not really making much more progress. Meludi trying to go around the outside of Pollard at Village this time. Danger there is that it leaves the door open for Danny Hans behind him, and it's not worked out for him. Pollard trying to cover the line down into the link. You see there, the track does dip away, doesn't it?
Yes, the camber falls away, which makes it quite deceptive. There in the background is the green car, which is Peter Belzy up from 21st on the grid, and he's charging.
Could see Andrew Smith involved in a battle for the minor places in the foreground of the shot there, but they're still jockeying for position in this battle for the lead of the race. Gant just getting away by a few car lengths though, isn't he now? And
he is.
These 4 really have to work together to get back on terms, otherwise they're going to gift the victory to Graham Gant, although having said that, he's now getting delayed by some back markers.
Yeah, he's the first to hit them. It's number 19 that he had to negotiate at the exit of Vale.
Over the line they come. The gap actually went out to 0.7 of a second between Gant and Meludi compared to the previous lap. Meludi 2nd, Pollard 3rd, Hans 4th, and 5th is John Hughes at the moment. 51 car of Peter Belzy made another half a second towards them that time around.
He's just 5 seconds behind the leader at this point.
That's a good effort from him as we watch the 16 car. That is the car of Ian Ray. The car that was earlier was the 15 of Mike Oldknow, wasn't it? I was struggling to find that white car on my list. Oh, the problems for Meludi. Meludi's out of the race. Number 11, Ben Meludi, not quite sure how he got there, is out of the race. So the man that lies in 2nd position in the championship has the steering wheel off the car, and that's a big drama because he was in the battle for the lead as well. Is there anyone else that we've lost?
Hit the back corner as he climbed out.
There's Craig Bell in the Dominator. Momentarily, there is Graham Gant, our race leader. He was about 7/10 ahead of Meludi, so it looks like Pollard now 2nd, Hughes 3rd, and Hans in 4th position. So Hughes has got ahead of Hans on this lap as well, possibly in the melee after Meludi went off or pulled off, whatever happened to him. So now 2 cars for the lead, really, separated by 0.7 of a second, then 2 cars for 3rd, with Belzy still in the background, trying to catch them by the looks of it and not really making any inroads on that lap. 2.5 minutes to go. Yesterday's race was an 11 lap, and we've had 8 laps so far today. We're now working lap 9.
Pollard's car lock a brake from time to time, it appears so.
Yeah, it's a car that's had a considerable amount of work done since Snetterton won it. Although it collided with the barriers, it did come home to get a finish in the second of the races there. Bill Garner, number 10, you can see in shot. Just behind him is 88 Francis Twyman doing battle with the 56 car of Christian Goller, who's just done his personal best lap of the race. And Alex Jones back up to 17th, having had that pit visit. So he's had a good run back through the field by the looks of it.
Yellow car there is the 88, which is Francis Twyman's. That's a Storm by the looks of it, isn't it? Then that car with the dorsal fin, that adipose fin.
Yeah, that's the Bell car, isn't it?
Craig Bell, that's right.
Yeah. So Goller and Twyman doing battle there.
Ludi, I think, is on the inside of the link there.
Yeah, Goller trying to squeeze down, almost using the grass there to get past Francis Twyman. This is only for 15th place as well. It shows that every position matters, but they've got Alex Jones, who's going to try and sweep around the outside of, well, certainly Twyman, trying to go around the outside of both of them, but he goes far too deep into Stowe corner and actually loses a bit of ground. Yes, he's off over the curbs on the outside of the circuit, so Jones will have to try that one again. Side by side between Goller and Twyman as they go into Vale.
Touch.
Yeah, there was. It's as a result of that, Jones has gone down the inside and Craig Bell has tried to follow, so it's very frenetic racing for the
leaders.
places. Yeah, here are the leaders.
Hanger straight, and it was down to 0.3 of a second between Gant and Pollard. Last time through, Pollard snaps out of the slipstream, down the outside into Stowe. Can he outbrake Graham Gant? He can't. Switches to the inside where he's got the advantage. He's managed to just clever switch back there to the inside, got his nose ahead, but Gant may be able to do it back on the brakes into Vale. He does. The yellow worm's eye view. Beautifully engineered car, this. One off.
They go on to what I think is going to be their penultimate lap, because there's about 11 seconds to go as they cross the line there. And old Twyman, who is sort of early on, he's now had a moment down at Village and will rejoin. Yes, and that was where Ben Maloudy's car was off. But the leaders should be heading back down towards us. Here they come. So it's Gant from Pollard. Pollard won both races here last year on his way to the championship. Gant shared the wins with Maloudi in 2017, but normally we've had double winners here, so it does bode well for Gant to try and get this to the checkered flag, and he's got more daylight now between himself and Pollard as we're working the penultimate lap.
Couldn't quite see why that was, because they went into the complex very much together. The car they're going to catch somewhere between Stowe and Vale ahead of them. Danny Hands is third, moving across.
Pollard's nose is broken, isn't it? It's disjointed. It's
that may be that brush with Hands earlier in the race.
Could have been, I suppose.
Oh, car off into the gravel. Is that Steve-O?
He's unhappy, whoever he is. I think it may well be Steve-O, yeah, that's gone off into the gravel, so he's done well to find that here at Silverstone. Yeah, it certainly is Steve-O as he clambers out of his car. But towards the end of this race anyway, they've just started the last lap, coming down towards Abbey, and it is Gant that leads by 0.4 of a second from Pollard. So this isn't necessarily the worst place for Pollard to be as they head towards Hanger Straight for the final time markers.
And they'll be preying on Graham Gant's mind, won't it? That's for sure. He was telling us yesterday how you didn't want to lead into the last lap, which is well known in the slipstream circuit. He's used all the road and a bit more there. Number 1, Craig Pollard, the defending champ. And there's a car which is going to perhaps impede their exit. There's a bit more smoke from Pollard's car again coming down onto the straight. Some bits of debris in the road just on the corner there. And Danny Hands is going to go through that debris between the two bits. But here the leaders coming down to Stowe. Yes, that nose very much disjointed now. And
that's probably not helping matters, is it? As he tries to get through. There's very close to the back of Gant there as they head to the apex at Stowe corner, and they're side by side now. But Gant just has his nose in front. He's going to have the inside line for the Vale as well. The yellow web ahead of the mostly black GAC of Craig Pollard. It looks like Graham Gant is going to do this because there's not really an overtaking opportunity between here and the flag. So they make their way out of Club Corner onto the straight, and it is a victory. 2 in the weekend for Graham Gant, and he extends his lead in the Heritage Park Centre Formula V Championship still further. He's very pleased with that. Craig Pollard just having to give best by about 0.3 of a second in the end, and Danny Hands came third and John Hughes fourth, with Peter Belzy up to fifth. He got there relatively quickly, getting through the traffic, but then sort of plateaued. Maurice Gloucester number 94, completing the top 6. Another spin for Francis Twyman, I think that was, in the background of the shot on this final lap for him as well. Tim Probert comes home 7th. Jack Wilkinson winning Class B, for cars to a slightly different specification, in 8th place. Rick Lanier across the line in 9th. You could see there the number 24 car just ahead of Mark Egan. There was only 17 100ths of a second between them. Andrew Cooper 11th, Elliot Mason across the line in 12th position, and then the rest of the field coming through. But another thriller, that one, Marcus, and Graham Gant, despite leading on to the final lap, still coming home with a win.
Absolutely, and I think that the aero mods to the chasing car didn't help its speed down the Hanger Straight, but Craig Pollard did very, very well to traverse Stowe Corner inside the race leader. At that point he was probably sunk because he wasn't going to outbrake Gant into Vale.
Let's have a look at the results then. Graham Gant it was that took the win by 0.3 of a second from Craig Pollard. About 4.5 seconds further back was Daniel Hands in 3rd place. John Hughes 4th, just behind the leading group. Peter Belsey took 5th place, up from 21st on the grid. Maurice Gloucester a distant 6th in number 94, ahead of Tim Probert. Further back, Andrew Cooper 11th, Elliot Mason 2nd, I think, within the Class B. He took 12th place. So the winner of Class B having been Jack Wilkinson. Bill Garner 13th, Christian Goller 14th this time. Ed Lowndes, he had a moment on the way to 15th position. Alex Jones, good comeback from him, up to 17th after early dramas. Phil Waterhouse in the Ferrari Tassa also had a spin but got back to 20th. So too did Charles Boniface, he got back to 21st. And Francis Twyman had at least 2 on his way to 24th position. A few drivers a lap down, lapped before the end of the race, the likes of Andrew Smith, but at least he got to the end, unlike yesterday. And there the retirement, Steve O, Paul Taylor, Ben Malouda, Ian Jordan. Yes, we didn't really see much of Ian Jordan. The engine change clearly didn't work out for him, and he falls further back in the championship standings. Sam Wallbank also an early retirement in the number 64 car. So that's the Heritage Park Centre Formula V Championship. It continues at Donington Park next month. But for now, let's hear from our top 3 with Josh Barrett.
Thanks, Ian. You can see on your screens, I think Craig and Danny just having a chat. Graham Gant's gone over to his team to have a bit of a chat. So let's go in reverse order, much like yesterday. Danny, 3rd place. Looked a pretty frantic race, particularly at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it was doing all right. And then I got on a scrap with Ben, and he decided to pull off some really dangerous moves, which basically put me out. You know, we made contact. He went straight over the top of me, which meant I lost contact with the top 2. So luckily, he didn't hurt either one of us. But yeah, bit of a nightmare.
Looking now to the rest of the season, any tracks particularly you're looking forward to?
I like Donington, I like Alton, so I'll be looking forward to both of them.
Yeah, good luck for the rest of the year.
Cheers. Yeah.
2nd place was Craig, and Craig, just looking at your bodywork then, I think that's probably what hampered you towards the end.
Yeah, I think I tagged onto the back of Graham. You know, to be fair to Graham, we all know he's got loads of bottom end power, so he tries to back us up into the corners, so it's going to happen sometimes. But fair play to Graham, he drove a solid race, and everything I tried, he had an answer for it, and that's racing. Disappointed not to get the win, but picked up some good points.
Well done, and good to see you back, sort of right up on the podium constantly now.
No, it's good to be there, definitely.
Well done. And Graham, race winner again. It was a great battle with Craig.
Yeah, I was rather hoping the flag was going to come out a little bit earlier than it did. Yeah, it was great. Obviously dropped back to 4th, and then there was a bit of wheel banging going on, which I managed to avoid. And then it was just Craig and I in the end, and yeah, it was quite tricky because the toe again down the Hanger Straight was very powerful, and you know, it was just really lucky that he just met the back markers at the wrong time, and I just managed to hold him off. But the rear tyres went away, and it got very difficult. So sliding around a lot. So he did a great job, nice clean race with us. So that's great. Yeah.
Does it make it easier or harder just having one car to battle with rather than 3 or 4?
No question about that. I mean, the toe's much stronger when you've got 3 cars in the line, but it was probably the TV show. There were 2 or 3 abreast into Stowe, and that's asking for trouble, and it gets a bit too close at times. But yeah, I've just kept out of trouble. So great win. Thanks to everyone who helps me. They do a great. Stuart, Paul, and Tony. They do a great job for me, and I couldn't do it without them. So it's fantastic.
I know earlier in the year you were saying you weren't sure if you were going to do a full season. I take it you are.
Well, things are looking possible now. Yeah, and Ben didn't have a good finish again, so that extends our points lead. So yeah, it's going to get tight. Those 4 races left. I'm going to be fixed into doing all the races now. I was hoping I wouldn't have to, but we're going to be at the last race, so yeah, it's going to be great. It's good. Really looking forward to it.
Look forward to watching it as well. Well done this weekend.
Yeah, it's a great advert for Formula V. So close, and 4 people, any one of us could have won. That's lucky again to be in the right place at the right time.
And it's great to see the grid getting bigger again. 40 cars pretty much here this weekend.
That's stunning, really. I mean, it's just, and we're oversubscribed for Donington, and I'm not sure about Alton, but certainly Donington. There's reserves as well. So, that's great. That's fantastic. The cars are coming out, and it makes really good motor racing all the way through the grid. So that's what motorsport's about.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
So Graham Gant, our race winner. Second place was Craig Pollard and third place was Danny Hand. So that ends the Formula V action here this weekend at Silverstone. But there's plenty more races to come. And next up, it's the RGB Sports 1000s.